saying that that ISIS will be driven out of Ramadi?
Well, that certainly is what the strategy is intended to effect. I'm not going to set any timelines in terms of this, but obviously, our goal here is to degrade and ultimately destroy ISIL, and yes, that means driving them out of Ramadi.
Across the country at this moment, men and women who proudly served their country in the liberation of towns and villages across Iraq are feeling the pain of watching their efforts go for naught. Depression, anger, rage, maybe even a feeling of their country using them for a political gain that has since dissipated in blood and the waving of a terrorist flag. The fall of Ramadi, the lack of American military strategy, the political disaster, and those who remember what it was like to actually get the job done and leave with their heads held high. Our guest is a former Lance Corporal in the United States Marine Corps who was part of the American effort to liberate Ramadi in 2006. We thank him for his service and putting his life on the line, and welcome Jared Bajer to the Hardline. Jared, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
What is it that you remember in that first moment when you went into Ramadi?
First getting to Ramadi was, it was pretty intense. It was basically, if I could describe it, it was almost like hell on earth. It was one of the most dangerous places in the world, as we were told. Very intense. We hit the ground running. We were engaged in firefights practically every day. Roadsides bombs were everywhere. It was an extremely dangerous place.
When you go in there then, and you said that it was constant at that point, when you first got into Ramadi and started the mission, how long before you got a break? A couple of days, couple of weeks?
Well, usually we would go about 6 days before we could relax. We would take a rotation, 3 days of constant patrolling, actively hunting the enemy in their neighborhoods. And then the following 3 days, we'd be a part of a quick reaction force to be called if needed. And then the following 3 days would be to rest and do vehicle maintenance and things of that nature.
What do you remember about the city? Because this was the second battle of Ramadi at that time. Were a lot of the buildings already blown out and people living under difficult situations?
It was. When we arrived, it was pretty much war-torn. It was intense, and there was actually areas of the city that we were told not to go into because it was enemy territory. That's how intense the fighting was at the time when we got there.
The people of Ramadi, how did they initially greet you, and then you were there for several months? What changed in their thinking and in the way that they talked to and dealt with the American forces?
Well, when we first arrived in 2006, late 2006, we didn't see too many people on the street. We weren't interacting so much with the people because the combat was still ongoing. It was still every day. People were displaced or hiding in their homes for their own safety. And it wasn't towards the end of the deployment where we start to see people coming out and things were more safe and things were going back to normal.
Well, there's a lot of pictures we're seeing right now, and a lot of them have happy faces, have people smiling and looking into the camera. You took these pictures as well. Did you get the feeling that they were happy to see Americans, that they were welcoming you, and that they were really thrilled to see you trying to save them?
Absolutely. There's no question that, Iraq and the world was a better place without Saddam Hussein in power. And they did express that to us. They were very thankful, and we did as much as we could to help them. We've given them food and water and candy to the kids. They were happy to see us, but unfortunately the war became drawn out and somewhat unpopular from the United States perspective as it was drawn out. But yes, they were definitely happy to see us there.
I got about a minute left, and with what we have seen now, with Ramadi being overtaken by ISIS and the terrorist flag flying over that village, how does that make you feel?
To be honest, it's very saddening. It's hard to see it because of the sacrifices that we made. We fought hard over there to gain control of that city, and it didn't just happen overnight. This took years. It took many battalions, and many brave men gave their lives, fighting for that city, not just for the Americans, but to give it back to the Iraqi people. For the protection of their own city. So it's very sad to see what's happening today. Basically, as a result of the United States completely pulling out and abandoning what we accomplished there.
Do you feel, I got about 15 seconds left, do you feel like you were used?
Perhaps politically, but while we were there, we accepted the mission, and we were really fighting for the guys to our left and to our right. Political perspectives can definitely change, but you know, we're just doing the mission we were sent to do.
You did your job, you did it bravely, and you came home. Lance Corporal Jared Bajer, we want to thank you so much for your service. Thank you for your time. God bless and welcome home.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. Difficult to talk to, difficult to realize. The hard line continues.